James Franklin has a reputation for picking his targets early and then trying to land a commitment as soon as possible. Now, it doesn't always pay off, as you can see here. These are the notable players in his last 4 classes who committed 6+ months before signing day. Now, more than half of them ultimately signed with Penn State, and that's what makes Junior Day so important. Now to preview Junior Day in Happy Valley, let's welcome in Tyler Calvarusso, our staff writer for Lions247. Now, Tyler, before we get into the big names visiting Penn State, let's talk a little bit more about James Franklin's recruiting process. He's been consistent in landing those early commitments, but the risk that comes with that is those recruits may get wandering eyes later in the cycle. So what is his philosophy when it comes to accepting early commitments, knowing he may have to fight off other schools later on?
So I would say there are 2 parts of the equation. Penn State always feels that if it's in a position to accept a commitment from a recruit, the relationship is rock solid on multiple fronts. The relationship is solid with the player, the family, the high school coaching staff. So if the time comes where it does have to fight that battle late in the cycle, as we've seen, that they have a good enough relationship with the recruit to hang on in the end, because they could sell the long-standing relationship and just the comfort level that the staff has with the player and the coaching staff and the family. And there's also the fact that this staff does have a preference to zone in on its top guys early, set the foundation of its class, get its real building blocks in place. That way, for the second wave of the cycle later on in the fall, when guys are flipping and you have your late risers of the cycle, the staff could really look hard at its needs and address where they want to go and what direction they want to do and what players they want to try and flip. So the philosophy, I would say, is a double-edged sword, because, you take guys early, they start to look around at the end of the cycle. We see it every year. But Penn State is pretty confident in its approach in that regard.
Tyler, Penn State geographically, maybe not the easiest place to get to, yet James Franklin has recruited very well the last few cycles. What makes it a destination or an attractive place for recruits when you are able to discuss things with them in interviews and get recaps of their trips?
So some players tell me that they really appreciate that it is kind of in the middle of nowhere, because they get away from all the hoopla, focus on ball, focus on their development, and get to the next level. And there's also the fact that Penn State really sells that it has an atmosphere like no other. You got the whiteout, the 107,000 strong. A lot of guys want to see that in person, and pretty much every recruit that I've talked to post-visit, they rave about the atmosphere inside Beaver Stadium. It's one of those programs where you got to get there and see it to believe it. You see it on TV, you see the atmosphere inside Beaver Stadium on television, and it looks great, but then you get there and you experience it firsthand, a completely different story. And a lot of guys really just fall in love with that while they're on their visits. So it's one of those programs where you get there, you get the guys on campus, and you do your best job to sell. You sell the atmosphere, you sell everything that you have to offer on campus facility-wise, and you sell the fact that State College, while it's not the biggest town out there, it is indeed a college town, and it is a Big Ten town. It could be big time, even though it's not big geographically.
All right, well, talking about selling the guys while they're on campus, let's go over some of the recruits visiting Happy Valley this weekend. Top 24/7 linebacker Christopher Jones recently released his top 12. Where do the Knits stand with him, and where else will he be visiting?
So Penn State has a pretty unique connection with Jones, with Director of Player Personnel Kenny Sanders. That is his uncle. So Nittany Lions, that's a feather in their cap in this recruitment. And if you look at his group of finalists right now, it's still early for him, but it's basically a who's who. You got LSU, Notre Dame, Ohio State. And also, the local schools have a pretty strong case. The Virginias, the Virginia Techs of the world. So, Jones, it's big that he's getting to Penn State this weekend specifically, I would say. Penn State really want to get him on campus this weekend because they want it to be his first visit of the month. They know that he's going to be making other visits elsewhere this month, and they wanted to get that real first impression of the winter. So, credit to the staff. They pushed really hard to get him on campus. Obviously, with the family connection, it's a little bit easier to make that happen, but they're really excited to get him to Happy Valley. And I just talked about how hard they sell. They're going to be doing a lot of selling with Jones this weekend.
Another player that will be on campus, Tyler, is top 24/7 wide receiver Kalen Adams. It seems like he's still in the early stages of his recruitment. He has a top 12 that he recently released, but what's the status of Penn State among that dozen schools that are after his signature?
So from a Penn State perspective, Adams is definitely their most wanted at wide receiver at this point. They're in a good spot with a bunch of other receivers, but Adams is the guy they really love. They love his versatility, his explosiveness, his route running ability. And I would say that another situation where getting him on campus to start the month when he has visits to Miami and Virginia Tech lined up, Those are the other two really and strongly in the mix with him right now. Another situation where Penn State's really glad to be getting that first crack at him this month. While he's not in a rush to, go through his process, he's going to make a bunch of visits. He's going to evaluate all of his options. Another spot where Penn State, they want to hit a home run with that first impression. And this weekend, they view that as a prime opportunity to really entrench themselves as the top contender in his recruitment.
All right, great stuff, Tyler. Thanks for joining us today. And for more updates on the Nittany Lions throughout the offseason, stay tuned to Lions247.com.